Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams happening in May 2026. My name is Nicholas and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for SCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to share the technicalities behind this exam. For most of you, this might be your third or your second CIMA case study. So you have somewhat of an idea of how these CIMA case study examinations work. However, even if you have done a previous CIMA case study, the technicalities are a bit different compared to what you saw at OCS and MCS. And some of you might be coming through the CGMA route or the C-suite route. If so, this is your first CIMA case study. So it's essential that you gain an understanding of what this examination is about and how your knowledge is tested by the examiner. So therefore, I will be providing an overview into your exam, and also towards the latter part of today's webinar, I'm going to share an 8-week study plan with you, because if you want to pass in May, it's essential that you stick to a study plan, because this is the toughest CIMA examination, because this is the final exam. So you need to build your theory knowledge as well as application, and practice various different techniques. So you need a disciplined process and you need to adhere to it in the upcoming 8 weeks in order to pass comfortably and conduct your preparations in a stress-free manner, focused on the upcoming exams happening in May 2026. So before we get into the technicalities, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled for you. We are conducting an industry and pre-scene analysis on Thursday, the 2nd of April at 17 GMT or 6 p.m. UK. As you know, your pre-scene, which is relevant for May and August sittings, will be released on Thursday by 9 a.m. UK. And coinciding with this pre-scene release on the same date, we are conducting an industry and pre-scene analysis with the intention of ensuring that you understand what this time's pre-scene is about and what type of an industry you have to master in order to pass comfortably in your upcoming 2 examination sessions. And similarly, in the third webinar, I'm going to teach you crucial answering and time management techniques. Not just teach you these 2 techniques, I'm going to explain how to implement them practically by taking you through one of our mock exams, thereby explaining how to approach a certain question, and therefore how you should develop your answer plans, and whilst developing answer plans, how you should focus your attention towards managing your time. Because if you had completed your OCS and MCS exams, I'm pretty sure you know how important it is to manage your time and structure your answers properly. That is why you need to be conversant with an answering technique. And also, whenever you are attempting mock exams, you are supposed to keep practicing these answering and time management techniques over and over until you master these techniques before walking into the exam. If not, at the exam, you are going to run out of time. If you run out of time, especially at this final stage, if you run out of time, you will never pass this exam. So these techniques will be taught in the third webinar. And in the fourth webinar, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques as well. Because as per the CIMA examiner, the examiner intends to not just test your theory knowledge as well as application capabilities. The examiner is also trying to figure out whether you can manage stressful situations. Why is this the case? Because in a real life corporate setting, you are supposed to deal with stressful situations. And if you crumble under pressure, however much experienced you are, however much knowledgeable you are, if you cannot tackle or manage stressful situations, you are not going to be a good leader. And this is extremely applicable to those who want to start their own business. So if you're already running your business, or if you're planning on starting your own enterprise or your business after completing CIMA, it's essential that you understand how you should manage your stresses. So that's why the examiner expects you to sit in one place across 3 hours and attempt 3 sections, one after the other, with the intention of creating a stressful situation to see whether you can navigate through this stressful situation. So that's why it's essential that you understand stress management techniques. So I'm going to teach you these things in the fourth webinar. And also I'm going to highlight examiner's comments, because it's essential that you understand what the examiner expects from you. And it's essential that you align your study process with examiner expectations to ensure that you pass comfortably in your upcoming examination. And once we are done with the webinar series, we are kickstarting our workshop series. So I'm going to direct your attention towards how to deal with each pillar, F3, P3, and E3. I'm going to explain what is contained within each of these pillars. And also, I'm going to conduct a master class, thereby explaining how to approach each type of question concerning F3, P3, and E3 syllabi. And in the final workshop, which happens just 2 or 3 days before your examination, I'm going to share last-minute tips with you, with the prime intention of motivating you. Because as per the CIMA examiner, if you are confident before the exam, you are going to be confident during the exam. And if you believe in yourself, if you're confident about your skill set, then you are going to score extremely good marks at your exam. So on a weekly basis, we are conducting a webinar or a workshop. So I hope you will attend each of these webinars and workshops live, because you can benefit from the Q&A session. And also, this is the best way to keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis. All right, so then let's try to understand how students end up at SCS. So there are a set of students who are coming through the CIMA general route. So these are the type of students who have completed their E3, F3, and P3 OTQs. So since you are coming through the general route, you have already learned your theory via E3, F3, and P3 OTQs. And on top of that, you have already completed your OCS and MCS examinations. So you have a sound understanding of how your knowledge is tested at a CIMA case study examination. So you will be somewhat comfortable, you will feel somewhat comfortable rather, when compared to someone who is coming through the exemption route when conducting your preparations. Why am I saying this? Because at this stage, your application skills are heavily tested. I'm going to explain about all these things in a little while in depth. For now, understand the fact that your application skills are heavily tested. That does not mean that your theory knowledge will not be tested at the exam. I've seen tutors out there saying that theoretical concepts are not actually tested at SCS, which is actually wrong, because as per the exam blueprint, as per the CIMA examiner, any syllabus area from your E3, F3, and P3 elements can be tested. So since if you are someone who is coming through the traditional route, since you have completed your OTQs, you have already learned all conceptual elements. So since you have learned your theories, it's simply a matter of brushing up your application skills in order to pass in your upcoming sitting. And on the other hand, we also deal with a set of students who come through various different exemption routes. So those who are coming through the FLP route, they have already completed at least one CIMA case study. So they have somewhat of an idea of how their knowledge is tested. However, if you are coming through something like the CGMA or the C-suite route, this is your first CIMA case study. So you need to get your bearings with the technicalities behind this exam, because this is not an academic qualification. This is a professional qualification. So the way in which your knowledge is tested is actually quite different to that of an academic qualification. Because if you look at an academic qualification, it could be a master's program or a postgraduate program. Your knowledge concerning theoretical concepts are heavily tested. So you are supposed to do assignments. When doing so, you are supposed to read through various different journal articles, scholarly articles and whatnot, and come up with your own ideas when developing your assignments. And when it comes to presentations, the same concept applies. You need to have a sound understanding of concepts, and you need to conduct your explanations based on your conceptual knowledge. But in a professional qualification, your decision making capabilities are tested. So in order to come up with the best type of a decision, in order to evaluate something in a foolproof manner, you need to utilize the knowledge which you have gained via E3, F3, and P3. And dealing with exemptions, and when dealing with exemption students, as per my experience, most students have a sound understanding of what's covered within E3, because within their previous academic qualifications, strategy development related knowledge is covered. So E3 is mainly based on strategy development or the rational planning model. So because of that, you will be conversant with E3, but most students struggle in terms of F3 and P3 syllabi. So although I'm saying that you need to put in some extra effort to learn all concepts covered within, especially within F3 and P3, and at the same time, you need to put in some extra effort to significantly improve your application skills along with your answering capabilities. Although I'm saying all these things, we have developed some special resources which are primarily focused on those who are coming through exemptions to ensure that you have the capability of learning theory covering the entire syllabus concerning E3, F3, and P3. And at the same time, you have the ability of improving application skills significantly in the upcoming weeks. So even though you are coming through an exemption route, don't worry. I have to be honest with you because we need to address the elephant in the room. Your theory knowledge will be tested. You are walking into this exam with knowledge gaps, so you have to take steps to fix these knowledge gaps. If not, you'd have to repeat this exam. And at the same time, just because you know your theory, you are not going to pass. You need to significantly improve your application skills. Within the upcoming weeks, if you utilize our study process, or if you stick to our study process, if you stick to our study plan, you will take steps to cover the entire syllabus or learn the entire syllabus, and at the same time figure out how to deal with application concerning each conceptual element. So these are the pathways which leads to SCS, and let's try to understand the technicalities behind your exam. So as you know, this is a PC based examination. You have an opportunity of attempting the exam at home, or you have the opportunity of attempting the exam at an examination center. So if you are experiencing frequent power outages or internet issues, then my recommendation is to attempt the exam at an examination center. Because if you try to attempt the exam at home, and when you face all these technical difficulties, you are going to be stressed. And if you are stressed during the exam, you will experience something called brain freeze. This is a situation where you will be extremely emotional, and when you are emotional, you are panicking, and when you panic, you run out of time because you cannot focus on an answering technique. So it's essential that you get rid of all these anxieties, negativities, and technical issues at your exam. So if you are experiencing power outages or internet issues, do not attempt the exam at home. Instead, attempt the exam at an examination center. And looking at the time allocation, you are supposed to dedicate 3 hours of your time to complete the entire paper. And your paper will be divided into 3 main sections. And the time allocation in each section is 60 minutes each. So let me quickly show you, how a typical question will be structured. So this is a mock exam which we developed for the previous sitting. This is mock exam 1. And as you can see, just like in your real exam, you will see 3 sections in each paper, and the time allocation in each section is 60 minutes each. And within each section, you will see 2 or 3 subtasks. So if you look at this mock paper, there are 9 subtasks covered within the mock exam, but usually you will only see 2 subtasks, but sometimes there are instances where in certain variants, you will see 3 subtasks as well. So it is better to be prepared for anything at the exam. And as I mentioned earlier, any conceptual element concerning E3, F3, and P3 syllabi can be tested at the examination. So let's look at how your knowledge is tested by looking at a typical question. So the examiner tries to replicate a real-life corporate environment during the exam. Why is this the case? Because as I mentioned earlier, the examiner intends to see whether you have learned all your conceptual elements, and at the same time, you have the capability of applying these conceptual knowledge in a real-life business environment. Because if you are capable of doing so, you are poised to provide appropriate leadership at your office, or when you're running a business, you are poised to provide appropriate leadership and manage all types of conflicts, stressful situations in a successful manner in your day-to-day lives. So that's why the examiner intends to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So it's as if you are receiving an email from your superior. It could be the head of finance or the CFO or the finance director of your chosen company. So as you can see, you are receiving an email from the finance director. Your role is that of a senior finance manager. I'm going to talk about these roles in a little while. And the subject goes as diversification and industry pressure. So there's some information concerning some type of an opportunity the company is facing at the moment, or there's information concerning some type of an issue the company faces at the moment. And based on it, your knowledge is tested in a practical manner. So these are the requirements. You'd see bullet points, and these bullet points which appear within the scenario, within each scenario, will indicate the requirements which are contained within a certain section. So there are three requirements within this section, which are named as subtasks. You can see a subtask. The first subtask is titled subtask A. The second subtask is titled subtask B. And the third title, the third section rather, is titled subtask C. Okay. And on top of that, on top of all this information which appears within the body of the email, you will also gain access to reference material, which gives you additional information about what is contained within each scenario. Okay, so that is exactly what happens at office. Yes, so you'd receive an email, and if someone, if the sender of the email wants to attach or wants to share some additional information with you, he or she will attach the necessary information. So that's exactly what you can see within this exam. So any type of opportunity or issue the company is facing will be explained via a scenario which is known as an unseen. And also, as part of this unseen or as part of this scenario, some additional information will be shared with you via reference material. And how should you develop your answers? So when it comes to developing answers, first things first, you need to take steps to plan your answer appropriately. So you need to come up with a summarized version of your final answer or an answer skeleton, because you need to dedicate some time to plan your answer. Because if you do not plan, you're not developing the most successful answer. Because this is exactly what you'd do at office. So let's assume you receive an email which carry complex information, and the requirement is quite complex. When this is the case, what would you do? Rather than jumping the gun and trying to respond instantaneously, you will spend some time to jot some facts down to see whether you are addressing all the requirements appropriately and to see whether you are doing your job properly. So similarly, at your exam, you need to take steps to develop answer plans such as these by dedicating a certain amount of time. And once you have planned the answer, then you should direct your attention towards finalizing your answer, which should be in paragraph form. So although your answer plan is in bullet points, there are just single line sentences. If you look at your final answer, the final answer should be in paragraph form. If your answer is in bullet points or in single line sentences, you are not going to get any marks. Instead, the examiner expects you to develop answers or provide answers in paragraph form. Okay, so that's how you should develop your answers and finalize your answer in order to score good marks at your exam. So that's how your knowledge is tested. So this is a 3-hour paper, which is divided into 3 parts of 60 minutes each. And there aren't any breaks between sections. This is intentionally done with the intention of creating a stressful situation, because you will be somewhat comfortable in the first hour or when you are dealing with the first section. But when you are in the latter 2 sections, especially when you are in section number 3, rather, this is when fatigue sets in. And when fatigue sets in, you will experience brain freeze. And when you experience brain freeze, you will give up the fight halfway through. So that's why it's essential that you are exposed to all these types of problems when conducting your preparations, rather than facing these problems for the first time at your real exam. And in order to pass this examination, you need to score 80 out of 150, or as a percentage, you need to score 54%. All right, so that's how the exam operates. And then let's try to understand what your role is. So at this stage, you are supposed to play the role of a senior finance manager. So if you have already completed the previous two case studies, OCS and MCS, you know the difference between what you did previously, and you already know the responsibilities of an SFM or a senior finance manager. So at the operational level, you are supposed to play the role of a finance officer located at the very lowest level of the organization. So you were not supposed to play the role of a decision maker. Instead, you were an implementer. You were involved with implementation of decisions at the operational case study or at the OCS stage. And at the MCS stage, you were playing the role of a senior finance manager, who is located at the middle level of the organization or the management level of the organization. So as a finance manager, you were the link between the decision makers of the organization and the implementers. So your communication capabilities, because there's up and down communication, you have to communicate with board members, as well as you have to communicate with the operational level employees. So your communication skills, your leadership skills, project management capabilities, medium-term risk management capabilities, all these things were tested, which are aligned with someone who is located at the management level of any given organization. So at this stage, you are directly reporting to board members. It could be the finance director, it could be the senior finance officer, or any other given director. So since you are directly reporting to the board, you are involved with long-term decision making. So you are reporting to the strategic level of the organization. And as you know, at the strategic level, you find the board members. And whenever board members are arriving at decisions, they are supposed to adopt something called an outside-in approach. So an outside-in approach is a situation where the directors need to think about how their decisions are going to impact the long-run success of the company. And at the same time, they have to think about how their decisions are going to impact the external dynamics, how the competitors are going to react to the decisions, how our connected stakeholders are going to react to the decisions, how our shareholders are going to react to the decisions, and at the same time, how our decisions will impact the internal dynamics of the company. So first thing first, when you look at board members, they have to adopt an outside-in approach. And as an individual who is reporting to the board, you have to adopt a similar mentality. You need to have an outside-in approach when it comes to decision making. So you need to think about how your recommendations are going to impact mostly the shareholders, because you are dealing within a quoted company. So you have to first things first think about increasing shareholder wealth and fulfilling shareholder interests. So you need to think about how your decisions are going to impact your shareholders, and then you have to think about your customers, suppliers, any type of connected stakeholders, as well as external stakeholders such as the government and the general public. So this is a well-rounded approach to decision making. So you have to be conversant about all these elements if you are to be successful at this exam. Because in a real life corporate setting, if you're playing the role of a senior finance manager, you need to have evaluation capabilities, as well as you need to have recommendation capabilities, because as and when necessary, you have to provide guidance to board members. So that's what's tested at this exam. And at this stage, since you are playing the role of an SFM, a higher level of application and practical thinking is expected. That does not mean that theories are not going to be tested. Any type of theoretical concept which is covered within your E3, F3, and P3 syllabi can be tested. And on top of that, most importantly, practical decision-making capabilities, or in other terms, application skills, are heavily tested. So let's try to understand what I'm talking about. So first things first, let's try to understand about syllabus coverage, or try to gain an understanding of which syllabus elements can be tested at your exam. So this is a document which I developed for the previous case study sittings, which happened in November 2025 and February 2026. So mostly your knowledge concerning E3 will be tested. So As I mentioned earlier, under E3, the rational planning model is tested. So strategy evaluation, your knowledge concerning strategy evaluation and formulation capabilities will definitely be tested at the exam. So you should have the capability of evaluating each type of strategic options against the vision, mission, and values of your chosen company. In order to do so, you need to have a sound understanding of the vision, mission, and values of your company. And also, you have to have the capability of evaluating how to pursue diversifications. It could be a vertical integration, or it could be us entering into a new market. So you should have your knowledge concerning diversification evaluations will be tested at the exam. And also your knowledge concerning purchasing options or real options will be tested. You should have the capability of evaluating acquisition initiatives. Especially this element will be definitely tested at your exam, because you are supposed to play the role of an SFM within a quoted company. As a quoted company, whenever we want to expand, it's the easiest approach is to acquire a smaller player. And alternatively, rather than acquiring, we can opt for organic growth as well. So you have to have the capability of understanding the differences between organic versus inorganic growth initiatives. And also alternatives to the rational planning model, such as the emergent approach to strategy formulation, will be tested. And you have to have a good understanding about disclosure legislation, especially given the fact that the syllabus, if you consider the syllabus from May 2026 onwards, some add-ons were included, and these add-ons are primarily focused on sustainability. So sustainability disclosures, and if certain laws and regulations change, then we should change our disclosure arrangements as well. So all these elements will be tested, as well as you have to be considerate about shareholder concerns, how a share price drop is going to impact the internal dynamics of our company as well as external dynamics, and your capability to use strategy evaluation and formulation tools such as competitor analysis, scenario planning, and SAF, or the suitability, acceptability, and the feasibility framework will be tested. And in terms of board responsibilities, you should have the capability of understanding how we should manage system incompatibilities when we're trying to converge various different systems. Especially, let's assume we acquire another company, and after the acquisition, we have to converge our legacy systems against the acquired companies. So when doing so, we might experience system incompatibilities. So you should know how to deal with such incompatibilities, and also how to deal with the internal business environment when we're trying to do something new. Our business ecosystem will change. If so, you should know what type of steps we should take to come up with foolproof changes and manage these changes to business ecosystem. So your knowledge concerning change management strategies will be tested, and also your knowledge concerning stakeholder management will be tested. Also, you should know how to deal with disciplinary issues, and also how to deal with board appointments. It could be with regards to appointing a certain manager, or it could be a senior manager, or it could be with regards to appointing a board committee or a board member. And also your knowledge concerning corporate governance and ethics is tested, especially given the fact that you are working within a quoted company. So any given quoted company has to fall in line with corporate governance regulations, and they should uphold utmost levels of ethics. So your knowledge concerning board accountability, how to deal with directors' remuneration, how to restructure the board, appointment of executive directors or non-executive directors, how to dismiss a director, and ethics and corporate governance concerning board members' action or chairman's action, how to conduct lobbying in an ethical manner, and how to deal with sustainability disclosures in an ethical manner. All these angles can be tested at the exam. And also your knowledge concerning finance strategy is tested, and this is an area in which most students struggle. So this is taken from your F3 syllabus. So your knowledge concerning financing options, debt versus equity, will definitely be tested, and with the add-ons coming in, green financing methods such as green bonds as well as green securities will be tested definitely at the exam. And you should have the capability of demonstrating creditworthiness to lenders, especially if you are seeking debt finance in international markets. And you should know how to deal with a rights issue. how to deal with existing debt covenants when opting for additional loans, how to deal with company valuations, especially when we are trying to acquire another company, how to deal with additional dividend payments, how to execute additional dividend payments without impacting the share price in a negative manner, what to do in terms of canceling the dividends, because when you cancel a dividend, usually the share price drops. So you have to have the capability of managing affairs so that the share price is not negatively impacted, although the company has taken the decision to cancel or call off a dividend. And also, your knowledge concerning the 6 capitals framework or integrated reporting will be tested, because in this day and age, as a quoted company, we are not supposed to only talk about our financial performance. We have to keep our stakeholders informed about our non-financial performance as well. So that is why your knowledge concerning 6 capitals will be tested. And you should also have an understanding of how our share price is going to be impacted by various different risks we are exposed to, various different strategic options we take, as well as how our share price will react to your beta, because as a quoted company, your knowledge concerning beta will definitely be tested. So at within your pre-scene, there will be an indication of the current beta of the company, so you should know how this beta is going to impact the share price of the company and shareholder reactions. And also concerning your P3 syllabus, again, an area in which most exemption students struggle with, everything is tied to risk identification and mitigation. So, I'm going to take you through a typical pre-scene in a little while, then you'd understand what I'm talking about. So within the pre-scene, there's a risk report. And within the risk report, there will be 5 or 6 risks which the company has already identified. And also, there will be a mention of the type of mitigatory strategies the company has adopted to manage these risks at the moment. So you should have the capability of understanding, first things first, whether the organization has identified all the risks. There will be gaps within the risk report. It is intentional, because as a student, your job is to spot these gaps and be prepared to face these type of questions at your exam. So first things first, as I mentioned earlier, you need to have an understanding of whether the company has already identified all the risks. If not, you should understand what the gaps are, and you should be ready to suggest appropriate mitigatory strategies. And also, you should have an understanding of the current risks and whether the current mitigatory strategies are foolproof or not. If the current mitigatory strategies are not up to the required level of standard, you are expected to suggest better alternatives with the intention of insulating us against these risks in the future. So this is how your knowledge concerning risks, risk identification and mitigation will be tested. And also under the P3 syllabus, your knowledge concerning internal audit responsibilities will be tested. So you should know what type of a role our internal audit department should play when it comes to carrying out acquisition negotiations, conducting internal audits within our own company, as well as how to conduct compliance testing. And also, you should have the capability to suggest internal controls, again, which falls under your P3 syllabus, which are focused on preventing a data breach or preventing any type of risks and our exposure to internal issues. So this is a huge syllabus. For me to explain it, I think I took about 3 to 5 minutes. So that's why I said that it's essential that you learn your theories. And at the same time, just because you know your theories, you are not going to pass this exam, because your application skills or your decision-making capabilities or your capabilities to apply these knowledge areas when developing your answers is heavily tested. So I'm going to take you through this mock exam, not in its entirety. I'm just going to direct your attention towards this mock for about 2 to 3 minutes to explain as to how your practical decision-making capabilities as well as theoretical knowledge can be tested. So let's look at the first requirement. We are supposed to evaluate the financial analyst's comments regarding Cumulator's proposal to launch a premium EV range with roof integrated solar technology. So this type of a question is based on theory, but it's mostly testing your application capabilities, because the examiner is expecting you to read through this information and evaluate the info which is presented within this information. So when conducting this evaluation, if you do not know what the beta is and what the beta indicates, or an increment or a decrease of beta indicates, and how it impacts our share price as well as in our internal dynamics, then you are not going to get full marks. Although I said that this is an application heavy requirement, if you don't know the theoretical element, because there's a mention about the short-term beta increase. So if you don't know what a beta increase is and how it's going to impact us, then you're not going to get full marks for this type of a question. So this is application heavy. Still, there's a theoretical element. And if you look at the second requirement, evaluate the CEO's suggestion with regards to the bonus. So this is a highly theoretical question. So when it comes to dealing with directors' bonuses, there are certain elements or angles which you need to cover, which is highlighted within your E3 syllabus. So this is a theory-heavy paper. A theory-heavy requirement. If you're clueless of how to deal with directors' bonuses, then you are not going to get any marks for this type of a question. And looking at the third question, recommend comprehensive strategies for accumulator to effectively manage stakeholder pressures created due to environmental issues. So as you know, whenever you are dealing with stakeholder pressures, your knowledge concerning the Mendelow's matrix is tested. However, simply because of the fact that you explain Mendelow's matrix, you are not going to get marks. Instead, when developing your answer, rather than explaining the Mendelow's matrix, you are supposed to apply the knowledge which you have gained via the Mendelow's matrix when developing your answer in a practical manner. So when developing this answer, you need to consider what's highlighted within the scenario, and at the same time, you need to utilize the knowledge which you have gained via the Mendelow's matrix. So this type of a question tests your theory knowledge as well as application skills 50-50. All right, then let's look at the second question. Evaluate the ethical considerations of allowing competitors to license accumulators, roof integrator, solar panel system. Consider how sharing this technology aligns with or contradicts with the company's mission, vision, and values. So your knowledge concerning ethics is tested, which is highlighted within your E3 syllabus under the COPPI, or the confidentiality, objectivity, professional competence and due care, professional behavior and integrity framework. So 50% of this question is intended to test a knowledge about business ethics or the CIMA code of ethics. And alternatively, 50% of weightage is provided towards testing your application capabilities, because you should align your answer with pre-seen info, because you are supposed to talk about the vision, mission, and values of your company, and the mission, vision, and values appear within the pre-seen document. So this is a question which combines both theory as well as application 50-50. And looking at the second question, recommend the activities that Accumulator's internal audit department should perform to ensure protection of the proprietary technology and intellectual property. So this is a highly technical question. This is a type of a question in which your application skills are tested. So yes, there is theory in terms of internal audit responsibilities, but you cannot memorize how the internal audit should conduct their responsibilities, because given the scenario, you have to come up with a totally different answer, and the responsibilities of the internal audit department will change. Therefore, I consider this type of a question as a highly practical question, or which is intended to test your application skills. So there's not a lot of theory in this question. It is intended to test your application. And the third one, you are supposed to identify and evaluate the implications of suspending Accumulator's dividend to finance this new venture. So this is a highly theoretical question in which your knowledge concerning dividend suspensions is tested. So it is highlighted within your E3 syllabus. So within this section itself, the first question is a 50-51, in which your theory knowledge as well as your application skills are tested. In the second question, only your application skills are tested. And in the third question, only your theory knowledge is tested. So as I mentioned earlier, there can be combinations of theory as well as application within any given paper. And looking at the final section, recommend with reasons how we should finance the initial escrow setup and integration costs of $600 million and the annual escrow management fee of $5 million. So this is an area in which your knowledge concerning financing options is tested, which is covered within your F3 syllabus, debt versus equity. So this is a theory-heavy question. However, I'm not saying that there's no application, because you need to apply to the information at hand. So there's some information shared with you. Some numbers are shared with you, so you should know how to deal with these numbers. So although this is a theory heavy question, your application capabilities are tested as well. I would say this is a 60-40 question, 60% theory, 40% application. And then looking at the second requirement, recommend with reasons how we should deal with the breach of our debt covenants if we borrow $600 million. Again, debt covenants type of questions are highly theoretical. However, you need to apply to the scenarios information as well. So I would call this a 70-30 question, 70% theory, 30% application skills. And finally, recommend with reasons the approach that we should take to manage the currency risks associated with the annual escrow management fee in future years. So currency risks are highlighted, or currency risk or forex risk management techniques tested within your or contained within your P3 syllabus. So this type of a question is a highly theoretical question. Okay, so that's how your knowledge is tested. I just took you through a previous mock exam in its entirety with the intention of highlighting how your knowledge is tested. So you saw that you need to be conversant with each of the syllabus elements which I highlighted. I took you through all these elements a while back. And on top of that, in certain questions will be theory heavy, certain questions will be application heavy, or in most questions, there's a combination of both theory and application. So you cannot forget about theory, you cannot forget about application. You need to get both these elements right in order to pass comfortably in your upcoming exam. And then let's dig deeper to figure out how your knowledge is tested. So information is provided about a fictitious company in advance via something called a pre-scene document. So this is what a typical pre-scene will look like. So this is the pre-scene which was relevant for the previous two sittings, November 2025 and February 2026. And the previous pre-scene was based on a battery electric vehicle manufacturer called Cumulator, which is akin to a company such as Tesla or BYD. So let's look at the contents. So there's an introduction which indicates information about the history of your organization. So you are supposed to play the role of a senior finance manager. So if you are to do your job properly, you need to have a sound understanding of what your company did since its inception. In any given organization, you will have to go through a session in which these things will be shared with you. So that's the exact same objective. That's why you'd see an introduction which highlights the historical dynamics or the historical elements of your chosen company. And then there's a considerable amount of information about the industry, because a while back I said that you are supposed to be involved with long-term decision making. Therefore, you need to adopt an outside-in approach to decision making. So in order to adopt an outside-in approach, you need to be aware of what happens within your industry. So that is why a lot of industry-related information is shared with you. So there's information about the types of electric cars, why we are shifting away from the ICE or the internal combustion engines to battery electric vehicles, and how the electric car market operates at the moment. Such industry-related information is shared with you. And then the examiner directs your attention towards your chosen company and highlights the internal dynamics of your chosen company. So there's information about Cumulator or your chosen company, about what it intends to achieve right now and as well as in the future. And there's extracts from the annual report of your chosen company. So you are dealing with a quoted company. So as a senior finance manager, you have to be conversant with various different elements which are covered within your annual report. So there's an indication of the mission, vision, and values of your chosen company, because when you are taking decisions, you need to see whether your recommendations are aligned with the current mission, vision, values, and the business model of your chosen company. If your decision is not really aligned with the mission, vision, values, as well as the business model, you are not coming up with the best type of a decision. So that's why you have to be conversant with the current mission, vision, and values. And also you need to know about the type of board members within your organization, how many executive directors are there, how many non-executive directors are there, what type of board committees are there. So all these things will give you a good indication of what type of questions can be tested, because there will be shortcomings in terms of corporate governance. There will be shortcomings in terms of board capabilities and exposure. There will be shortcomings in terms of the capabilities of our independent non-executive directors, and there will be shortcomings in terms of how we have structured our board committees. So you have to have a good understanding of all these things. If not, whenever you are evaluating something or whenever you are recommending something, if it is not aligned with the current corporate governance practices practiced within your chosen company, then you are not going to get good marks. And also there's an indication of the principal risk report or the risk register of your chosen company. I spoke about it a while back. So in this risk register, there you will see 5 or 6 risks which indicate the type of risks the company has already identified, and focused on the same 5 or 6 risks. There will be an indication of the type of mitigatory strategies the company intends to adopt with the intention of insulating itself against the identified risk exposure. So you should have the capability of understanding whether the current mitigatory strategies are appropriate or not. And at the same time, you should have the capability of understanding any gaps within the risk register concerning any type of risks the company has not identified within its risk register. And also, financial statements of your chosen company will be shared with you. Statements such as the statement of profit and loss, statement of financial position, and as well as the statement of changes in equity related information will be shared with you. Not just your chosen company's financial statements, your competitors' financial statements will be shared with you, because as a senior finance manager, whenever you are evaluating something or whenever you are recommending, it should make financial sense. So, for instance, if you are dealing with a question to do with financing options or funding options, you need to have a good understanding of the current gearing ratio. And if you opt for additional debt, for instance, you should have the capability of calculating a post-investment gearing, and also have the capability to evaluate if the gearing increases or decreases, how it is going to impact our financial standing as a company. So that's why you need to have a sound understanding of what appears within each financial statement, and you have to have the capability of comparing your financial performance, your company's financial performance against its closest competitor. And also, you'd see an extract from the sustainability report, which is extremely important, because I was talking about syllabus add-ons, and these are primarily based on sustainability. So you should have a good understanding of how we approach sustainability, how we try to implement sustainability, what type of leadership is there within our organization to spearhead these sustainability initiatives, and at the same time, the type of metrics we use to keep tabs about whether we are achieving our sustainability objectives or our sustainability strategies or not. So these things will be highlighted within the sustainability report, and there's an indication about share price history along with beta related information, because the share price gives us an indication of what type of issues the company might face in the future, or what type of opportunities we might get to exploit in the future. And the beta gives us an indication of the volatility of our share price, especially concerning bad news. Because if something goes wrong, then it leads to a situation where our share price fluctuates greatly if our beta is above 1. So these are technical elements which are taught in your F3 syllabus. So you have to combine these technical elements with pre-seen information, and at the same time, at your exam, fresh information which does not appear within your pre-seen will be shared with you. So that is why this document is named as the pre-seen, which gives you an indication of the past of your organization, and gives you an indication of what the company practices at the moment. And at your exam, you will receive an unseen, via which information concerning any type of opportunities the company tries to exploit, or any type of issues the company is facing, will be shared with you. So this is what a typical pre-seen will look like. So information is provided about a fictitious company in advance via a pre-seen. So if you have to come up with the best type of decisions, if you have to conduct evaluations in the most successful manner, then you need to have a sound understanding of the internal dynamics of your chosen company. That is why you need to have a sound understanding of the pre-seen document. And in the exam, you are required to address issues or questions relating to the strategic direction of your company. So you are involved with long-term decision making, or you need to adopt an outside-in approach to decision making, as I mentioned earlier. So via questions, the examiner is testing your knowledge about the company and the industry. So if you are clueless of what appears within the pre-scene, you will end up coming up with answers which are not really aligned with the internal dynamics of your chosen company as well as the external dynamics. If so, you are not going to get good marks. For instance, just to remind you, if you look at this type of a question, you are supposed to, talk about the vision, mission, and values of your chosen company. So as I mentioned earlier, if you do not know the current vision, mission, and values, or if you have not evaluated the current vision, mission, and values and understood any shortcomings, then you are not in a position to conduct an evaluation in the most successful manner. So that's why I said that the examiner is trying to test whether you have gained knowledge about the company and its industry. Also, the examiner is trying to figure out whether you have the capability of applying the knowledge which you have gained via E3, F3, and P3 when developing your answers. So you need to know your pre-scene, you need to know all conceptual elements, you need to master your application skills in order to pass comfortably. And this is the to-do list. This is what you need to achieve in the upcoming 8 weeks. So first things first, you need to gain a clear understanding of the pre-scene, because that's the most important element when you kickstart your prep. Because if you do not know the internal and external dynamics of your chosen company, you cannot deal with the unseen. So you need to know the pre-scene to deal with the unseens in a successful manner. So with this in mind, with the intention of decrypting pre-scene information or gaining a clear understanding of the pre-scene, you have to watch the pre-scene analysis videos. There will be 3 videos in total, which is focused on your industry, focused on the company operations, as well as what appears within the financial statement. So once you watch these videos, you will gain a sound understanding of the internal as well as external dynamics of your chosen company. And then you are supposed to read the annotated pre-scene on your own. So at TCS, we develop something called an annotated pre-scene. And the prime intention is to come up with annotations to summarize the entire pre-scene. Because if you look at a typical pre-scene, it goes on for 25 to 30 pages. There's hordes of information. There's necessary information as well as unnecessary information. So you should have the capability of identifying which information is the most relevant, and you should take steps to remember them. So that's why at TCS we develop an annotated pre-scene, thereby summarizing the entire pre-scene so that you can easily gain a clear understanding of what the type of information contained within each pre-scene. Also, via our annotations, we do conduct our analysis as well. So these were the mission, vision, and values of your previous company's pre-scene. And, we have conducted an overall analysis, thereby highlighting any type of shortcomings. And based on this analysis, we have also indicated the probable exam scenarios as well as probable syllabus elements which can be tested. And when developing our mock exams, we have made sure to cover these probable exam scenarios and syllabus elements. Okay, so that's why you need to read through the annotated pre-scene after watching the pre-scene analysis videos. And then you have to kickstart your prep by attempting mock exams and conducting revision focused on the same mocks. Don't try to learn theory in isolation and try to figure out application on your own, because you are going to struggle a lot. You have to complete your work within just 7 weeks. Once the pre-scene is out, until the exam, there's 7 weeks. So within 7 weeks, you have to have the capability of attempting all mock exams and conducting your revision based on the same mock exams. So it's going to be a tough situation when after attempting a mock, when you have to refer back to theories, you are going to waste a lot of time, especially if you are coming through an exemption route. You would have seen that there are a lot of resources on the FLP platform which is intended to teach you theory, but there's nothing which is intended to teach you application. So that's why, as I mentioned earlier, If you do not know how to deal with application, you are not going to pass this exam. So that's why you have to make sure to learn theory and application solely based on mock exams, because that's exactly how your knowledge is going to be tested at your real exam. So at TCS, we developed 7 exam standard mock exams covering 70 plus subtasks in its totality, with the prime intention of covering the entire syllabus, because as I mentioned earlier, any syllabus area from E3, F3 and P3 can be tested. So you have to be fully prepared. If you are planning to attempt just 1 or 2 mock exams and pass, well, you are gravely mistaken, my friend. You have to, it is a must that you are conversant with how each conceptual element is tested. That is why you need to learn theory and also learn how to deal with application concerning each conceptual element before you walk into the exam. So that's why we are developing 7 mocks with the prime intention of covering the entire syllabus, because if you had referred to past exam variants or past papers, you would have seen that the examiner has a tendency of developing 6 different variants. Why 6 variants? With the intention of covering the entire syllabus. So that's why, as you know, some add-ons came into the syllabus. So in order to cover these add-ons on top of the traditional syllabus elements, we are sharing 7 mock exams with you. So you need to practice each of these mocks under exam conditions and also conduct revision based on the same 7 mock exams. And also, you have to attend the live webinars and workshops which occur each weekend. And you have to refer to a set of slides as well, the industry and financial analysis slides. So let me quickly show you the type of slides which we prepared for the previous sitting. So as you can see, we have evaluated each financial statement in depth, yet making sure to keep things simple so that you can easily gain an understanding of the financial performance of your chosen company. So this is the SOPL, the SOFP, as well as the statement of changes in equity. And we have conducted a ratio analysis as well, because at this stage, as a senior finance manager, you need to have a good understanding of each of the ratios concerning profitability, activity, gearing, and liquidity. So we have evaluated each ratio again in depth, comparing your company's performance against its closest competitor. Similarly, you will gain access to a set of industry analysis slides as well, which are divided into 4 main parts. In the first part, we have defined the industry. In the second part, we have spoken about the competitive dynamics. And in the third part, most importantly, we have highlighted industry trends. Based on these industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And towards the very end, concerning a real life company, we have explained how a real life company operates within your chosen industry. All right, so these are the type of resources you should be conversant with. And also, you'd have to go through the top 20 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable syllabus areas which can be tested, and also go through theory recaps as and when necessary. So after attempting a mock exam, for instance, if you feel that you need to brush up your knowledge, simply refer to the theory recaps without wasting a lot of time to go through your past notes or bulky study texts. Also, if you're coming through an exemption route, it's essential that you learn theory and application. And that is why we also include 20 plus pre-recorded masterclasses as per the resources which are intended for those who are coming through exemptions. So via each masterclass, the objective is to teach you the logic behind each of the answers which we have covered within the mock exams. Whilst teaching you the logic behind each answer, we are teaching you the theoretical concept covered, also teaching you application. So I said that you should not learn theory and application in isolation. So that is why we are offering these masterclasses with the intention of combining theory and application. So by watching one single video, you are in a position to learn the theory as well as application, which will ensure that you end up developing high quality answers at your real exam. And also, you are supposed to refer to the answer plans of all 7 mock exams. A while back, you saw what answer plans look like. So rather than having access to pages and pages of suggested answers, when you have access to answer plans, your life becomes easy, especially when it comes to conducting revision. In a little while, I'm going to talk about how you should approach each mock exam. And most importantly, you have to spend a considerable amount of time on revision to improve your answering technique. That is where these answer plans come into play, because you can easily conduct revision when you have answer summaries. So these are essentially summaries of each suggested answer. So when you have access to these answer summaries, you can easily see the logic behind each answer. All right, so that's what you need to do. And also, you'd receive personalized tutor feedback for mocks 3 and 5. There's no point of receiving tutor feedback for all mock exams. The objective of opting for tutor feedback should be to figure out what your shortcomings are, because without understanding your shortcomings, you can't take steps to overcome them when conducting revision. So these are the type of feedback which we offer on mocks 3 and 5. So as you can see, we have evaluated each and every point in depth, highlighting your shortcomings, because as I mentioned earlier, if you do not understand your shortcomings, you won't take steps to fix your problems when you are conducting revision. And at the very end, we do indicate mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. Not just mark allocations, we also indicate the success rates as well. And by looking at the yellow highlighted subtasks, you can clearly see substandard answers, spot substandard answers, and take steps to refine your answering technique when you are conducting your revision. So these are the type of resources you need to use, and this is how you should conduct your preparations in the upcoming 7 weeks. So in a little while, I'm going to take you through an 8-week study plan, and when I've explained this 8-week study plan, you will see what you need to achieve on a weekly basis in order to succeed in your upcoming exam. So important dates are exam entry closes on the 5th of May 2026. So if you're planning on sitting for the exams happening in May 2026, you have to book your place by the 5th of May. If not, you would have to sit for August. There's no way out of it. So if you're planning on sitting for May, you have to book by the 5th of May. Although this is the deadline, I would suggest you to book right now. If you have already decided to sit for the exams happening in May, book right now in order to avoid disappointments. Because when you're moving closer to this exam deadline, sometimes exam spots will run out. If so, you have no other option but to sit in August. So why should you waste a lot of time and wait until August if you have already decided to sit in May? So book your place right now in order to avoid disappointments. And on top of that, if you book now, you will commit to the study plan. If not, you will wait until the first week of May, and you tell yourself, okay, I have not done much in terms of preparation, so I'm going to postpone my sitting to August. And you will do the same in August and postpone your sitting to November. So there's absolutely no point of postponing, because it's essential that you finish your SCS exam and say goodbye to CIMA so that you can focus on your life. Because I know this is one of the toughest exams out there. So it's best to say goodbye to it as soon as possible rather than dragging it on for August or November. So book your position right now, and the exams are from the 20th to the 22nd of May 2026. Okay, so before I take you through the 8-week study plan, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the SCS page. If you're yet to create a free user account, click on this button and create one. Once you have created a free user account, you would gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops, or the free mock exam, its suggested answer, as well as the answer plan. And you also have the opportunity of attempting the free mock exam, which is mock exam 1 in its entirety under exam conditions via TCS's exam platform, which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you would attempt your real examination. So you have the opportunity, even after without having access to paid resources, even via the free content, you have access to the exam platform via which you can attempt one single mock exam under exam conditions, which is the best way to test your answering, time management, and stress management capabilities. Also, if you are yet to join our WhatsApp group, click on this button and join it. Because via this group, we will keep you guys informed of the weekly webinar and workshop commencement dates and times. Also, if you have any questions, you can get them addressed instantaneously, because I'm always active on the WhatsApp group. And via this group, we will be sharing hordes of free resources as well. Okay, so talking about what we offer at TCS, we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the premium course. The essential course is intended for those who have completed their OTQs, because as I mentioned earlier, those who have completed OTQs have already learned their theory. So since you have championed your theory, it's simply a matter of improving your application skills. So you can do so only by having access to the 7 mock exams. So you will gain access to, under the essential course, you would gain access to the recordings of all webinars and workshops, 7 mock exams with answers which cover 63 questions in total, covering the entire syllabus. You'd gain access to the pre-scene analysis videos, the annotated pre-scene, industry analysis, and financial analysis slides, along with the top 10 likely issue slides. You'd gain access to the case study familiarization kit. Once you have read through this kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you will gain a sound understanding of the technicalities behind your exam. You will also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So if you opt for the essential course, after attempting a mock exam, if you feel that you have forgotten a certain conceptual element, do not waste time to go through your study texts. Read through the OTQ revision cards. In a jiffy, you are in a position to brush up your knowledge. So the essential course is priced at £299. And talking about the premium course, this comes with a pass guarantee. And this is intended for those who are coming through the exemptions, as well as those who had failed the exam previously. So both these students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So we have included some additional resources with the prime intention of teaching you theory and ensuring that you know how to deal with application concerning each conceptual element. So under the premium course, you will gain access to everything which comes with the essential course. And in addition to that, you would gain access to the online mock exam platform via which you can attempt all 7 mocks under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. You will understand how beneficial it is after we are done with the third webinar, because after the third webinar, I will be pushing you guys to start mock attempts. And when you attempt under exam conditions, you will be exposed to, stress. You will be exposed to brain freeze. You will run out of time. I want you guys to experience all these problems when conducting preparations so that you can avoid these issues at your real exam. You will also gain access to answer plans of all mock exams. You saw what our answer plans look like. 20 master classes. This is the best tool out there to learn theory and application together, covering the entire syllabus. You will also receive tutor feedback on 2 mock exams, namely mocks 3 and 5. You saw the type of feedback we offer at TCS. And when you have access to all these resources, you will pass for sure. Hence, we are providing a pass guarantee for the premium course. So if you end up investing on premium and if you fail by achieving 70 to 79 marks, you will end up gaining access to the premium content in your subsequent sitting free of charge. So the premium course is priced at £849, which can be paid in 2 installments of £424 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you will save £100. If so, the price is just £749. So you can invest on your preferred course by clicking on either of these buttons. And all products are available until the 30th of August 2026. So if you're planning on sitting for the exams happening in August, you can invest right now and start your preparations, which will give you some additional time to really focus on your revision. All right. So having said that, let me take you to the 8-week study plan, which can be accessed via our website itself. So let's try to understand what you're supposed to achieve in the upcoming 8 weeks. So from this week until your exam, there are 8 weeks in total. So I consider the 8th week as the examination week. So let's try to understand what you're supposed to achieve. So we are in week number 1. And within this week, you are supposed to dedicate 8 hours of study time. Not much because the pre-scene is not out as yet. So within this week, your objective should be to go through the OTQ theory recaps. So if you want, you can go through the E3 related theory recaps because this exam is E3 heavy. So go through the E3 theory recaps leisurely. You need not be really serious because once the pre-scene is out, this is where you should become serious. And you should refer to the SCS familiarization kit as well within this week. And from the next week onwards, you have to be serious. So in week number 2, this is when your pre-scene will be released. As you know, on Thursday, your pre-scene will be released. And on Thursday itself, I'm conducting a webinar. Then I'd explain how we should approach the pre-scene document and use it whenever you are developing answers. So within the second week, you should focus primarily on decrypting pre-scene information or championing pre-scene information. So you are supposed to watch the pre-scene analysis videos. There will be 3 videos, as I mentioned earlier. And after you have gained an in-depth understanding of the internals and externals of your chosen company, you are supposed to refer to the annotated pre-scene on your own, thereby revising your knowledge, and then also refer to industry and financial analysis slides to further cement your understanding about your pre-scene. So week number 2 is dedicated towards understanding the pre-scene. And from week number 3 onwards, you have to kickstart your mock attempts. So week number 3 is the most hectic one, because within this week, you are supposed to master 2 mock exams. But beyond that point, on a weekly basis, you are supposed to master just 1 single mock exam. So that's exactly why you see that you are supposed to dedicate on average 8 to 9 hours of study time on a weekly basis. But in week number 3, since you are supposed to master 2 mock exams, you are supposed to dedicate 12 hours of study time. So week number 3 is going to be the most hectic one. So week number 3 kickstarts with the webinar, in which I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques. So don't start mock attempts just because the pre-scene is out. Don't start mock attempts. Wait until you learn your answering and time management techniques, because without learning these 2 techniques, if you try to attempt mocks, it won't bear fruit. So it's essential that you learn these techniques and then focus your attention towards attempting mock exams. So when it comes to attempting or when it comes to mastering each mock exam, you need to stick to a 3-step approach. So that is what I'm going to explain right now. So then I'm going to take you through the remaining parts of the study plan. So you need to stick to this 3-step study process with the intention of mastering each mock exam, which can be found within our website itself. So first things first, the first step is to practice each mock exam under exam conditions. So when it comes to practicing a mock, the objective is not to learn anything. The objective is not to improve your knowledge. The objective is solely to practice your answering, time management, and stress management techniques under exam conditions. So you are going to learn these techniques in the 3rd and 4th webinars. After learning these techniques, you are supposed to implement them under exam conditions to see whether you are capable of structuring your answers properly, to see whether you are running out of time, or to see whether you are exposed to stressful situation, and when exposed to stress, how you handle these stressful situations. So that's the objective of practicing each mock under exam conditions. That is why we have developed the exact replica of the Pearson system. So when attempting each mock, you have the opportunity of attempting each mock under real exam conditions. All right, so that's step number 1. And step number 2 is to learn theory and application, as well as the logic behind each answer. So when you're practicing mocks, your objective should be to practice your answering, time management, and stress management. Learning happens when you are in step number 2. This is where you are supposed to watch the master classes, which are focused on each mock exam. So in each mock exam, as you know, each mock exam is divided into 3 sections. So focused on each section, we will be sharing master classes with you. So when you watch a certain master class, you will understand the logic behind each answer. Also, you will learn the theoretical concept covered within a certain subtask. Also, you will learn how to deal with application. So learning happens when you are watching the master classes. So don't try to learn theory and application in isolation. Instead, simply watch the master classes, especially if you are coming through an exemption route. This is the best tool out there to learn theory as well as application together. And the 3rd step is the most important one. Just because you watch the master classes, you won't score good marks at your exam. You have to take steps to revise your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans. So via the master classes, you are learning theory and application. Then you have to try and develop answer plans on your own to figure out whether you have grasped all the points which were covered within the masterclass. Because if not, if you skip this process, if you skip the 3rd step, then you have attempted mocks, you know how to deal with theory and application, but you have not tested whether you are in a position to implement these techniques practically and develop answers which are closely aligned with TCS's answer plans. So this is the most important element. For instance, let's assume when you are watching a masterclass concerning a certain subtask, you understood that you should cover 10 different points. So let's assume it was a question to do with funding options. And when you watched the masterclass, you figured out that you should include 10 points to gain full marks. But when you try to develop the answer plan on your own, you will figure out that you can only remember 6. So after you have redeveloped your answer plan, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's to figure out, okay, these are the 6 points which I covered. These are the 4 points which I missed out on. Gain an understanding about it and try to develop the answer plan from scratch once more. This is the best type of revision you have to be involved with, because rather than doing this, just because you read through suggested answers, just because you try to learn theory, you are not going to pass this exam. So that's why it's essential that you spend a considerable amount of time on revision. And that's why I'm saying that the third step is the most important one. So this is how you should approach each mock exam, with the intention of mastering it. Because once you are done with all 7 mocks, you have mastered the entire syllabus, not just learned the entire syllabus, you have understood or gained a clear understanding of how to deal with application concerning each conceptual element. So that's how you should deal with the mock exams. So you are supposed to attempt the first mock exam under exam conditions via the exam platform. The objective is to practice your answering time management and stress management techniques. Then read through the answer plan of mock exam 1. We are not sharing master classes for mock exam 1 because master classes of mock exam 1 will be covered via the workshops, which are conducted free of charge. So you won't have access to pre-recorded sessions. So simply read through the answer plans of mock exam 1 to gain an understanding of how you should approach these elements. Don't worry, the master classes will be covered within the free sessions. And then once you have learned how to structure your answer, how to deal with theory and application, then take steps to conduct revision by redeveloping answer plans. And similarly, focusing on mock number 2, practice your answering time management and stress management by attempting mock number 2 under exam conditions, and then watch the 3 master classes to learn theory and application concerning mock number 2, and then redevelop answer plans to cement your knowledge concerning mock number 2. And from week 4 onwards, it's simply a matter of mastering a mock exam per week. So week 4 is dedicated towards mastering mock number 3, 5 towards mock number 4, 6 towards mock number 5, and week 7 is dedicated towards mastering mock number 6. And in the 8th week, which is your final week or your examination week, you are supposed to relax. You are not supposed to attempt any mock exams. You are not supposed to watch any master classes or redevelop answer plans. You need to do all the hard yards and finish everything by the 7th week. In the 8th week, in the examination week, you are simply supposed to refer to the answer plans, thereby going through all answer plans, thereby ensuring that before you walk into the exam, you are reminding yourself about how to deal with each conceptual element, and simply reread the annotated pre-scene one last time. Because why am I asking you guys to relax? Because 99% of the students out there, they are stressed before the exam. Since they are stressed before the exam, they end up failing the exam, because during the exam, they will be stressed as well. So I do not want you to commit this mistake. I want you to put all the hard yards in the upcoming 7 weeks. If you do so, when everybody is scrambling for time, when everybody is trying to do everything under the sun, when all the other students are, losing sleep, when they are stressed, you are relaxing, and this will ensure that you will perform extremely well at your real examination. So it's essential that you stick to the 3-step approach and master a mock exam per week and complete all your work by the 7th week. Start relaxing on the 8th week, and essentially, or ideally, you should stop all your work 2 days before the exam. So if your exam is on Wednesday, for instance, you have to stop all your work by Sunday. Take Monday and Tuesday off, because you need to walk into the exam with a fresh mind, with a high level of open-mindedness. Because at the exam, when developing your answers, you should make sure that your answers are totally aligned with what's highlighted within each unseen. Because as I mentioned earlier, the pre-seen gives you an indication about the history of your company. The unseen gives you an indication of what the company is facing at the moment. So when developing your answers, you should not think about the mock exams which you have done or think about the scenarios which you saw in the mock exams. Instead, when developing your answers, you should think only about the unseen info. So that's why you should walk into the exam with a clear mind, a fresh mind, or with a high level of open-mindedness. If so, you will come up with answers which are totally aligned with each requirement, which are totally aligned with each unseen. If so, you are going to get extremely good marks, because if you are practical, you are going to pass this exam, because that's what's expected from a senior finance manager. As a senior finance manager, when your superior is asking for your opinion, you are not supposed to explain theories. And when your superior is asking for your opinion, are you in a position to memorize anything? You can't. You cannot memorize solutions. Whenever you are evaluating something or providing recommendations, your evaluations or recommendations should be totally aligned with each unseen info. So that's why it's essential that you start to rest, because if you are I've seen this even in examination centers. Right before walking into the exam, students tend to go through mock exams. When you do so, what happens is you will remember the mock exam and its answer. And this is not going to help you at the examination, because at the exam, you should forget about the mocks and make sure to develop answers which are aligned with each unseen. So if you really understand the three-step approach which I highlighted a while back, the objective is to improve your theory knowledge. The objective is to improve your application skills. The objective is to improve your answering technique. If you focus on these things and take steps to improve these elements in the upcoming 7 weeks, at the exam, it's simply a matter of implementing these techniques in order to score good marks. So you have to learn theory. If you have learned theory, you will come up with highly successful recommendations. You will evaluate in a highly successful manner. You need to practice your answering technique. If so, you will implement answering techniques successfully at the exam, so you won't run out of time. You will develop well-structured answers. If so, you are going to get good marks. If you have learned how to deal with application concerning each conceptual element, you will know how to do it successfully at your real exam. So in the upcoming 7 weeks, the objective should be to improve your skill set. And at the exam, the objective should be to implement the skills which you have improved over a period of 7 weeks. So that's why you have to start right now, because you do not have time to waste. You simply have 7 weeks at your disposal. Across 7 weeks, you have to master 7 mock exams, which is going to be tough. However, if you are disciplined enough to stick to the study process, you will cover everything. You will significantly improve your skill set. If you improve your skill set, then you are well poised to play the role of a senior finance manager in a successful manner, because the objective of learning anything, it could be CIMA, it could be SCCA, or it could be any other type of a postgraduate program. The objective should be to improve your skill set, because if you take steps to improve your skill set, you will function properly, or you will function successfully within a corporate setting. You are well poised to start your own business and run it without any hiccups, because you have taken steps to invest on your skill set, improve your skill set. So that should be your objective. When conducting your preparations, your objective should not be to memorize anything. That's why it's essential that you understand the logic behind each of the answers rather than trying to memorize the points. Because when you walk into office, when you open your computer or your laptop, when you receive an email, can you predict the type of issues the company is facing? You cannot, unless and otherwise you read through them. You are not in a position to predict what type of issues you might face, or what type of issues your company might face tomorrow. So you have to wait until you walk into office and check your emails. And once you check your emails and when you are responding, would you think about what is covered under E3, F3, and P3, or will you base your decisions or your evaluations on your gut feeling? You will focus on your gut feeling, because you are not going to look at your study texts or your study notes and whatnot. So that's the exact same methodology which you need to adopt to pass this exam as well. So in the upcoming 7 weeks, improve your skill set, build your muscle memory. And if you do so, your gut feeling is going to be the most prudent, is going to give you the most prudent thoughts. And if so, you are going to pass comfortably in your upcoming exam. So that's why you have to put in all the hard yards in the upcoming 7 weeks and start relaxing in the 8th week. You are definitely going to stand out, because take it from me, 99% of the students out there are going through extreme levels of stress during the exam week. Because of that, they end up struggling at the exam. I myself experienced these things as a student, but from the management level onwards, I changed my strategy. I stuck to a study plan. Before that, I didn't stick to a study plan. I was haphazard when it comes to conducting my preparations. I have never gone to a class. So because I was into full-time work, I didn't have time to attend classes. So I had to do my studies on my own. So as an individual who was involved with self-studies, I had to stick to a study plan. I figured that out only when I was sitting for the management level examinations those days. So from management level upwards to top CIMA, there was after SCS, the strategic case study, there was a top CIMA examination as well. This was the 16th exam those days. So from management level up until top CIMA, I stuck to a study plan. And because of this, I made sure that before the exam week, I got everything done so that I could relax during the exam week, because I saw how I struggled with the operational level. Because right before walking into the exam, I used to go through mock exams. I was stressed. But when I changed my preparation strategy, it actually worked out really well for me. And I ended up scoring extremely good marks, because I could remember stuff at the exam, because I have taken steps to improve my or build my muscle memory or improve my skill set before the exam, rather than trying to do everything within the last 2 weeks. Because if you wait until the last 2 or 3 weeks to conduct your prep, yes, you will have time to attend all mock exams, but you won't have time to watch master classes and conduct revision. And as I mentioned earlier, just because you watch the master classes, you are not going to succeed. You have to test and see for yourself whether you have gained something via the master classes. That's why I said that the most important element of the 3-step process is to redevelop answer plans, because if you do not take steps to revise, you will never know whether you have improved your skill set or not. So I hope you will stick to the study plan, which can be accessed via our website. I'm going to share the link to the study plan via the WhatsApp group as well. And I hope you will stick to it. Therefore, you'd start your preparations as soon as possible. So that's our study plan. And I'm happy to say that we achieved a 84% pass rate focused on November 2025 exams. So, this is Harold was our highest scorer, who ended up scoring 116, came through the exemption route, started preparation just 3 or 4 weeks before the exam, simply stuck to the study plan and ended up passing. So I'm not asking you guys to wait until the last month or last 4 weeks, because this individual after the exam said that, got in touch with me and said that he thought that he failed the examination because he thought that he didn't have enough time to conduct prep, but still ended up scoring 116. So you are going to definitely doubt yourself, especially when you're getting closer to the exam. So it's essential that you start right now so that you can conduct your preparations in a relaxed atmosphere, which is going to be extremely beneficial. Because if you stress yourself too much, you might be watching master classes, you might be redeveloping answer plans, but nothing goes into your head. So don't push yourself too much. I know for a fact that you are involved with your family commitments, as well as your office work as well. So on top of all these things, you have to focus on studies. You have to do this, you have to be involved with this tough preparatory process. So don't stress yourself too much. If I'm recommending a study process on a weekly basis, leave out Monday. If you can work during the weekdays, if you can dedicate attention towards studies during the weekdays, it's prudent. Why am I saying this? Because then you can keep the weekends for your family, as well as to carry out your household chores. So it's best to focus on conducting prep during the weekdays. I don't know whether it's possible or not, but it's prudent if you can conduct prep during the weekdays. So leave Monday out because Mondays are always hectic. So on Tuesday, attempt the mock exam. This is going to take 3 hours of your time because you have to sit in one place across 3 hours and attempt the entire mock, which is the toughest thing to do. And then on Wednesday, watch the master classes to learn theory and application. And on Thursday and Friday, take steps to redevelop answer plans. So on Tuesday, you attempt a mock. On Wednesday, you watch the master classes. And on Thursday, you take steps to revise your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans. If you do so, you can relax during the weekend and simply attend the weekly webinar or workshop. Or alternatively, if you cannot get anything done during the weekdays, then you should focus your attention towards getting stuff done on Saturday and Sunday. So on Saturday, attempt the mock exam. If possible, on Friday, if you can do it, then you can dedicate Saturday and Sunday towards revision. If not, on Saturday, attempt the mock exam. And then on the same day itself, towards the evening, watch the master classes and dedicate or keep Sunday for revision. So that's how you should tackle this exam with the intention of mastering each mock exam. So I hope you gained a clear understanding of what we expected to achieve in the upcoming weeks. So having said that, I'm moving to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop me a message via the chat. You can unmute yourselves if you want. So any questions, folks? I think some questions have come through. Mathur is asking a question. I'm finding it difficult to complete all theory before exams. Can I focus on pre-scene and pick up topics covered up in pre-scene analysis for prep for exam? So Mathur, as I mentioned earlier, you should not walk into the exam with knowledge gaps. You have to be conversant with each of the syllabus areas which appears within this document. The same information will or the same areas will appear within the annotated pre-scene as well. So you should not solely focus on the pre-scene. You should not solely focus on the theories. You should not solely focus on application. You have to combine all these three elements together in order to succeed. So that's why you need not worry about theory, because most students, what they do is, okay, when they know for a fact that they have to be conversant with E3, P3, and F3, they try to read through the study texts, which is going to take a lot of your time. Or they try to watch 50 odd videos, again wasting a lot of time, because by watching videos or going through study texts, yes, you can learn theory, but you are never going to figure out how to deal with application. So that's where the master classes come in, because when you watch the master classes, you can forget about you having to learn theory, because we will be covering all these elements which are highlighted within this document within the master classes, because the master classes are totally aligned with the mock exams, and the mock exams are aligned with all syllabus areas covered within E3, F3, and P3. So you need not worry about learning theory and application. Simply watch the master classes, and once you have watched the master classes, take steps to redevelop answer plans with the intention of cementing your knowledge. I hope I addressed your concern, Mathur. And Elias is asking a question. Thanks, Nix. I have to go. Sorry. Brilliant session. Thank you, Elias. That's okay. If you missed the Q&A session, you can watch the recorded version, which I will share. RM is asking a question. E3, F3, P3 equals management, accounting, financial reporting, and project management. No, not exactly. E3 is enterprise strategy, everything to do with strategy formulation, strategy evaluation, and whatnot. So it is mostly based on the rational planning model, the various different elements of the rational planning model. Also, you should know the alternatives to rational planning model, to the rational planning model as well, such as the emergent strategy formulation model. And under F3, everything to do with finance strategy is covered, as I mentioned earlier. Oops, where is it? Yes, so all these elements which I mentioned, yeah, everything to do with company valuations, dealing with debt and equity, dealing with debt governance, dealing with equity options, how to pay dividends, cancel dividends, financial and non-financial performance disclosures highlighted under 6 capitals, how various different risks, strategic options, and beta is going to impact our share price. All these things are covered under F3. And P3 is not about project management. Project management is actually tested at the MCS stage under the E2 syllabus. P3 is actually focused on risk identification and mitigation. So risk identification, mitigation, and setting up the control environment of your organization, that falls under your P3 syllabus. So that's what is highlighted in here as well: risk identification and mitigation, internal audit responsibilities, and internal controls. Okay, I hope I addressed your concern, RM. RM is also asking a question. The sustainability additions won't be uploaded to the CIMA competencies until the 2nd of April. Is that true? Well, I'm not aware of this because I'm not too conversant with what happens within the FLP platform. However, you need not worry about all these elements because all these new add-ons will be covered within our mock exams. So, previously we were focusing primarily on 6 mocks, but, with the add-ons, we have to develop 7 mock exams this time. So we have, integrated all these things within our mock exams. Therefore, each of these new conceptual elements are covered within our master classes as well as answer plans. So you need not worry about having to rely on FLP resources or CIMA resources because we have already covered them via the mocks, master classes, and the answer plans. I hope I address your concern. Probably you have shared information taken from the FLP platform. There will be additional content updates to the strategic level of the CGMA Finance Leadership Program in the coming weeks. These updates will impact 3 competency areas within the strategic management group of competencies: competitive advantage, strategy formulation, and strategy implementation. These updates are set to go into effect on the 2nd of April 2026. So on the 2nd, if I'm not mistaken, is when your pre-scene will be released. Yes. So with the pre-scene release, you will be kept informed of these changes, but nothing to worry. These changes are already integrated to our mock exams. Anything? I hope I addressed your concern. Anything else, folks? Livera is asking a question. I'm coming through exemptions. There is a gap with theory and application. What should I need to do? So, Livera, I don't know whether you were part and parcel of this webinar from its inception. If not, please watch the recorded version because I explained in depth what you need to do to overcome theory knowledge gaps as well as issues with application. So, in a nutshell, simply watch the master classes. That's the best way to learn theory and application together in one single place via one single video. And after watching each masterclass, take steps to solidify your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans. I'm going to explain what answer plans are and how you should redevelop these answer plans in the 3rd webinar, which is happening in another 2 weeks time. Not 2 weeks, actually 1.5 weeks time. So don't worry about these things as yet. Simply, once the pre-scene is out on Thursday, simply focus your attention towards mastering the pre-scene because a week later at the third webinar, I'm going to teach you answering technique. Then you'd understand what you should do to deal with knowledge gaps concerning theory as well as application. I hope I addressed your concern. Hyde is asking a question. Hi, Nick, I joined the call late. I passed the 3 strategic OTQ papers 12 months ago. Congratulations. I understand there has been changes in the syllabus. What changes in the syllabus should I be aware of? So sustainability add-ons are there. So you have to be conversant with how to deal with green financing options as well as how to deal with sustainability disclosures, because not just disclosures, sustainability related strategy formulation. Because now, if you look at the traditional syllabus, the 6 capitals framework was there, and that's where your knowledge concerning sustainability stopped. Okay, because if you were conversant with the 6 capitals framework, then you were conversant. You were supposed to be conversant with sustainability disclosures. So in the previous syllabus, sustainability stopped at disclosures, which are made to the integrated report. On top of the financial statements, you have a separate sustainability statement as well. So you have to deal with disclosures. But now with the add-ons, you are not supposed to only think about disclosures. You have to think about how you should utilize sustainability and integrate it with your strategy formulation, how you should integrate it with your vision, mission, and values. So let me quickly take you to the pre-scene which we, the annotated pre-scene which we developed, focused on a previous session. So give me a second, please. I need to find this place. Yeah, so as you can see, extracts from the sustainability report of the previous pre-scenes company is shared with you. So there's information concerning 4 different elements which was taught in the OTQs, hopefully under the E3 syllabus. Even if this was not part of your OTQs, nothing to worry. We are going to cover them via the mock exams. Therefore, these elements will be covered via the master classes as well. So if a company is supposed to achieve better sustainability, they should focus on 4 main elements: governance, the type of leadership within the organization which is supposed to spearhead sustainability initiatives; strategy, how the company has taken steps to inculcate sustainability into their strategy formulation methodologies; and risk management, how the company intends to deal with sustainability related risks, because if we are not sustainable, then the customers will end up not purchasing from us. If we are not sustainable, we are not in a position to attract ESG concerned investors. And if we are not sustainable, we'd have to deal with the government. The relationships will be negative. And if we are not sustainable, the general public will be against us. So, these type of angles should be thought of when thinking in terms of managing sustainability risks. And also, in order to keep tabs about whether we are actually just, developing strategies won't do, just having leadership won't do, just thinking about, managing sustainability risks won't do. We need to have metrics to see, or KPIs to see, whether these initiatives are actually working in a foolproof manner within our organization. So that's why you need to have metrics. So when looking at the pre-scene, you should have the capability of identifying the strengths as per what's highlighted within the sustainability report. Because if you look at the previous sustainability report, I've mentioned the strengths. Sustainability is embedded into formal governance structures, which is good. In terms of strategy, sustainability strategies reflect stakeholder inclusivity and customer-centric sustainability goals, which are important for long-term value creation. And in terms of risk management, our risk report is mature. We are not focusing on greenwashing. Instead, we are being transparent about our emissions and whatnot. And looking at the metrics, our KPIs reflect performance-based sustainability tracking, again, which is good. However, this does not mean that we are exposed to shortcomings as well, because there's no mention of Scope 3 emissions, no targets or timelines. And sustainability, we are thinking in terms of implementing sustainability rather than thinking about sustainability in a strategic manner, as well as there's no independent assurance or external benchmarking which takes place within our organization to see whether we are actually achieving sustainability, which is akin to the sustainability performance of our competitors or industry leaders. So I've come up with a synopsis as well. So you should have the capability of evaluating in these angles concerning sustainability, which is the most important element which was added to the syllabus. And on top of that, green financing options, which is actually easy, was added to your syllabus as well, because under green financing, companies which are sustainable have the opportunity of opting for loans at a lesser interest rate. Therefore, our finance costs will decrease if we go for sustainable funding or green funding, to be precise. And if so, our profitability is going to increase in the future. However, when opting for these loans, we have to be ethical as well, because sometimes companies try to opt for green loans actually to fund something else, fund something which is not actually aligned to sustainability. So these are the angles in which your knowledge concerning green financing will be tested. So you need to know what green funding methods are, and at the same time, you should know the ethics tied to opting for green funding when the real objective is to fund some other element of our organization. So all these things will be covered. So there's absolutely nothing to worry. So concerning the pre-scene, all these elements will be covered via our pre-scene analysis videos. And concerning the mock exams, we have already integrated these elements to our mocks, and this will be therefore covered within our master classes and the answer plans. I hope I addressed your concern. And principal auditor is asking a question: for me to use the SAF framework, are there hints in the question that would suggest that the SAF framework will be applied instead of any other? Kindly provide hints also for scenario planning applicability. So you are talking about strategy evaluation models. So when it comes to a scenario planning related model, the examiner is definitely going to mention utilizing the scenario planning framework, evaluate this strategic option. Or the examiner might say, these are the 3 scenarios which you should consider. And looking at these 3, considering these 3 scenarios, evaluate this strategic option. So scenario planning questions are quite straightforward, because within the requirement itself, it would be mentioned that you are supposed to utilize the scenario planning tool. Whereas if you look at SAF related questions, sometimes the examiner says use the suitability, acceptability, and feasibility framework to evaluate this strategic option. Then again, it's quite straightforward. However, sometimes the examiner simply says evaluate this strategic option. If so, you should know to utilize either the scenario planning model or the SAF framework. My pick is the SAF framework because it covers all angles, because under suitability, you are supposed to look at whether a certain strategic initiative is aligned with the vision, mission, values, and the business model of your chosen company. And under acceptability, you are supposed to think about how this strategic option is going to impact your various major stakeholders, how they are going to react to it. And under feasibility, you are supposed to look at both financial and non-financial resource availability. So you should have the capability to identify whether we have the necessary financial and non-financial resources to implement the decision, because it could be the best decision out there, but if we don't have cash, we cannot implement it. It could be the best decision out there, but if we don't have board capabilities to provide leadership to such an initiative, then we are not in a position to implement it in a successful manner. So that's what the SAF is all about. And if you look at the scenario planning model, you are supposed to consider 3 scenarios: the best case, worst case, and the most probable or the most practical scenario. So the best case scenario paints a rosy picture. So it keeps you informed about what if our plan works, what type of advantages we are going to face. So you'd be ready for it. And the most the pessimistic scenario highlights a situation where everything goes wrong, and then again you would be ready to deal with a negative situation. And the most probable scenario gives you middle paths, gives you information about a middle path in which you are not successful or unsuccessful, but you're thinking about the practical dimensions you'd have to deal with when implementing a decision. So that's what a scenario planning model is all about. So comparing the SAF and scenario planning, I would go for SAF because it covers all grounds. So if the examiner simply says, evaluate a strategic option, utilize the SAF framework. In some questions, the examiner would say, utilizing the SAF framework, conduct an evaluation, then you know what to use. And if there's a question tied to scenario planning, definitely the examiner is going to mention scenario planning or mention 3 different scenarios so that you know you are supposed to utilize scenario planning. I hope I addressed your concern. Janaki is saying, can I buy only masterclass recordings first? Unfortunately not, because we have come up with a foolproof method. So just because you have access to masterclasses, if you don't have access to mock exams, it makes absolutely no sense. iPhone is asking a question. Hi, for premium package, it will be applicable for May and August sittings, right? And pass guarantee will be considered with August 26 sitting as well. it depends on when you sit for the exam and when you purchase. So if you purchase right now, you have access to May and August. So you have the opportunity of sitting for May as well as August. So then you cannot claim the pass guarantee beyond August. But if you invest on premium and sit for the exams happening in August, and if you fail scoring 70 to 79, which because if you score 70 to 79, it shows that you have put in the effort. It shows that you have learned your theory, because as per the CIMA examiner, if you score 70 or above, it shows that you have learned all your theory, but there's something wrong with application. That's why you have failed. So if you put in the effort, and it will reflect on your marks, it will be reflected on your marks. So if so, you can claim the pass guarantee, but you cannot claim the pass guarantee beyond August if you sit for the exam both in May as well as in August. Okay, so alternatively, if you are sitting for the exams happening in August, and if you fail scoring 70 to 79, then you can claim the pass guarantee in your next sitting, which is happening in November 2026. I hope I am clear. Livera is asking a question. Masterclass in the channel. The masterclasses which appear within our YouTube channel are concerning the previous mock exams, and these are the masterclasses which are based on the free mock exam. I said that when taking you through the study plan, I said that we are not we are not including masterclasses for mock number 1, which are pre-recorded, given the fact that we are going to cover these masterclasses within the free sessions. So what appears within the YouTube handle are masterclasses concerning mock number 1, not all the remaining mock exams. These are not available via YouTube. I hope I addressed your concern as well. Anything else, folks? I love it when you guys are asking a lot of questions, which shows that you guys are really interested in passing in the upcoming sitting. So anything else, folks? If you want, you can switch on your mic and have a chat with me as well. All right, folks, seems like there aren't any questions. So thank you very much for raising all these concerns or asking these questions. I hope I addressed everything. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours, and you can email us directly via info@study@tcs.com, or if you need instantaneous support, you can get in touch with me via this WhatsApp number. And I urge you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because via YouTube, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops. And via TikTok, you'd gain access to 6 videos, which contains a pre-scene mind map. So these 6 videos will be released on Thursday once the pre-scene is out. So from Thursday onwards, on a day-to-day basis, on your way to office, for instance, keep watching these TikToks so that you are constantly keeping yourself reminded of the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-scene. So you need not, try and memorize pre-scene information by, creating your own documents and whatnot. We will be sharing these resources with you free of charge. So the concluding thought is to approach SCS as an opportunity to learn rather than an exam to pass. That's why I said that the objective should be to improve your skill set, not just to pass this exam, because this is, if you look at the bigger picture, this is one single exam. And out of this exam, the objective should be to improve your skill set, because if you improve your skill set, it is going to remain with you forever. So don't think about this as an exam. Think about this as an investment in yourself, with the intention of improving your knowledge and capabilities, which is going to help you immensely in the future. And having said that, it brings us to the end of today's webinar. It dragged on for about 2 hours. I'm sorry about it. I just lost track of time because I wanted to share everything with you. So I hope you gained something out of this session, and I hope you'd join the pre-scene analysis, which is happening on Thursday at 17 GMT or 6 p.m. UK, in which I'm going to conduct an industry analysis and take you through the pre-scene document partially, thereby highlighting the internal dynamics of your chosen company. And from Thursday onwards, you have to be serious and you have to focus on getting everything done as per our study plan, because if you put in the hard yards within just 7 weeks, you can say goodbye to CIMA. Okay, so I hope you'd achieve it. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Until then, take care and goodbye.
Sorry, Nick, can I have ask a quick question?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Nick, I just wanted to ask your opinion. For somebody who hasn't completed the competencies level, is it advisable to do the May case study or wait for August?
Well, it's something like this. The competency exams are intended to, teach you theory, but they are not really relevant to the case study. So, if you really put in the effort, you can complete it within a week.
Okay.
That's what I tell all my students, because these competency exams, as I mentioned earlier, it has nothing to do with this exam. This exam is quite tough, because in these competency exams you can do it any amount of time until you get the required score, which is quite easy. So if I were you, I will try to finish off all the competencies within the upcoming week,
Yeah.
so that you are fully prepared for sit in May. Can you do it?
Yes. Yeah. It's through the FLP, so I can do it.
Yeah, so start today itself if possible. Finish
Yeah.
these off, because they have nothing to do with the case study, so you need not worry about learning something via the competencies. Just finish it off so that you can really focus on the case study from Thursday.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. Bye.